Today, I wanted to talk to you about a very, very important subject, something that could shape a child's future for decades. When a child discloses something to you, whether you are mom, older sibling, cousin, teacher, aunt, grandma, someone close to this child, how you react and what you do next can literally shape what will happen for that child in so many other instances that will come forward from this one moment in time. So often we talk about how children don't tell, and that is true because the grooming and the abuse has been so methodically planned that the threats and the rewards, it's usually not one or the other, as I've said before, but those things keep a child quiet, especially if there are threats about harming other family members. Um, I just feel like if we could get two things out of the way today in this episode, it would be, what do I do if a child tells me something? And I believe that that something may not be the words, hey, I'm being sexually abused, assaulted, raped, or molested. It might just be, hey, daddy, daddy's pee pee looks like this, or daddy's pee pee went here by me, or it's something so innocent sounding, but it would cause a big alarm bell to go off in you. A different thing would be like a friend of mine whose child had a bruise, and I believe a teacher or someone asked her how she got that bruise, and she told her that, well, my daddy hit me. And social services, child protective services were called, and they showed up at the house, and they had a whole investigation. And, this man was not an abuser. He was not physically, emotionally, or sexually, mentally, he was not that guy. But they went through the paces of that investigation. They got to the bottom of her story, and for sure it was not founded in that kind of um, actual abuse, physical or otherwise. But if someone were to say to you, they know something about harm or hurt or someone's, penis or peepee or another name you might have for that, I would have those alarm bells going off in me. So the very first thing, and we're just going to talk about the first two things to do, is to stay calm, stay steady. That is one of the most important things to do because if you freak out or you start to be devastated, the child will immediately feel that something is terribly wrong with them. And why did they tell? Because they don't like it when other grown-ups in their lives are upset. You know, my son doesn't like me to be upset to this day, and he's 34. He wants me to be okay and to be steady. And so a child who might say something to you is looking for that calm, steady, trustworthy person that you can be in their life in that moment. And that is job one, staying steady. Sexual abuse can change a child's view on the world. And regardless of how devastated you are, they need to believe that you are all right and that they will be all right too. And they will be if you can manage through this very initial piece of information in a way that doesn't traumatize them because they've already maybe been through a traumatic event. You're trying to suss out what actually has happened. You're trying to be quiet enough that they can continue. to talk to you instead of being upset, which will shut them down because they don't need you to be upset. They need you to, number two point is to believe them and to stay steady. So let's talk a little more about staying steady and then we'll talk about how important it is to believe them. So think about it like this: sexual assault or abuse for a child, a tween, or a teen is devastating. And it's devastating to you as someone who cares and loves that child. But the bigger picture is that children can, as tweens, teens, young adults, and adults, can actually go on to live full, productive, happy lives. So, lots of successful people, including, many famous people. I'm an example of that, are survivors of sexual abuse or assault, incest or rape. So, first of all, breaking the silence is the very first step in that healing process. So, this child who is divulging a piece of information that may be serious or possibly not, either way, staying calm and steady so they will continue to talk instead of trying to protect you from being upset or devastated or crying or screaming or whatever is really important. You stay calm and steady no matter what is happening inside of your body and your head. Just stay calm and steady so that the child isn't trying to protect you from your emotions. Do you see that connection? The second thing is all about believing, believing what they say. I think that for most people, that is the single most important thing, period, is to be believed. So whether a person in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s is trying to deal with the aftermath of their abuse from when they were, 7, 9, 13, 17, 21, the number one thing that is the most important for them as they start to go, I have to deal with this. This didn't just go away. I actually have to have some help. Actually, it's rearing its ugly head in my life, 5 years later, 10 years later, 25 years later. The one thing that they need and that this child needs is for you to believe them, to believe what they are saying. This is such an important subject to really talk about and every point inside of it that I want to leave it here for today, but know that we will come back to this conversation and to the other points that are really important to be made if someone discloses something to you, especially if it's a young person or a child. Thanks for listening.